Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? I am Annika from Dragon Strings, and I am here at the studio, and I have a couple of people in chat who are going to be taking care of all the minutia of stuff. So I'm just wondering if you guys could please keep your mics off and muted, and then anything else, just type it in the chat. We got a couple of moderators in there. Val is my co-host, as well as Freya. And they will both be able to take care of any questions. So I'm happy to see you guys. Well, see you. You can see me. I can see some of you at the top. I am recording this. So if it goes well, and it didn't last time, for those of you who joined me last time, it didn't go well last time, but it went well this time. Hopefully, if it goes well this time, it will be up on YouTube. So just heads up that this is being recorded. The chat won't be up there, but just my talking will be. So welcome to Knit City. Thank you for joining and all that stuff. Super happy to be there. Hello, hello, hello. I'm seeing the chat pop up there. Like I said, my name is Annika and I am Dragon Strings. And I am out in Victoria Harbour in Ontario. And I'm an indie yarn dyer for those of you who don't know what I do. And we're going to do a couple of things on this hour-long Knit City thing. We have a couple of quiz questions that I'm going to be asking throughout the hour. And the way that that's going to work is you answer in the chat, right or wrong answers, it does not matter. The fastest correct answer will get a 25% off gift card or coupon code for my website. The rest of the people, right or wrong answers, doesn't matter if you're after that first one, doesn't matter if you have the wrong answer, just type in your answer, your name, whatever. Those will go into a list, and Val will send that to me at the end, and we will be giving away a skein of yarn, this lovely one down here. And that can come directly to your door. I include shipping anywhere in North America for that. If somebody is attending from Europe or somewhere else, we'll have a discussion, but I can probably still get it to you. So that's going to be at the very end. And so any of the questions that you answer can get into that. So why not? The very first question, I have a lovely display of yarn behind me. This is all of the yarn that is on the brand new website. By the way, I launched a new version of my site this past week. So fingers crossed that that is all going to go well. It seems to be holding at the moment. If you guys crash it today, please have patience. We'll get to it. We'll get you all sorted out. But anyways, all of this yarn is up on that brand new website. And the very first question into the chat, just type your answer, is how many skeins are back there? So just as a guess, take a wild guess and see. Okay, we got some 1,500. No, it's not 1,500. that is an order of magnitude above what I have on this wall. This is only about, actually, I know exactly how wide this is. This is 8 feet wide and 7.5 feet tall. So we got some answers. Close. Okay, close. Oh, that was really close. Who was that? That was Sue. Sue with 298. And I don't know how you managed to get the exact number, but you did. So Val is going to send you a private message with a coupon code. And that was the first one I saw. I'm going to assume that that was the first one in there. Please keep answering because your names will go into the first one. Yes, it was the first one. Good. Yeah. And she will send you a message with a coupon code that is good for the site, 25% off anything you order. Congratulations. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about color, because I didn't want to just showcase all my lovely yarns. I mean, that would be fun, but not super useful for everybody else. I'm going to talk about color and color work and how to use colors and color work in knitting. But first, we have to do a couple of things with color. There are two parts to what most people consider color. Okay, you have the hue, which is the shade, the blue, the red, the green, you know, that you see. That is the hue. There is also something called tone or shade or tint. That is the amount of black or white in each color. So just so that we can talk about the rest of it, I'm going to pull up my yarn close-up thing down here. Oh, and that is chilling out on there. So there we go. Everybody can see that lovely skein of yarn there. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to bring out some samples here. We have a blue yarn. That is the hue. That is, it is blue. Now, if we took and we added white to that hue, which makes it paler, that is called tinting the yarn. Okay. And if you take this, so this is the pure color, this is the hue, this is the same blue, but it is tinted white. So the way you do that in dyeing is you just add less dye. Now, if I added black to that hue, that is a shade. So we have the hue, we have the same blue hue tinted, and we have the same blue hue shaded. Okay. Now, if we were to add both black and white to the yarn, so I've lightened the intensity and I've added black, it's called toning. And so you can see that this last one here is lighter than the one beside it. So it has, but it does have the black in it. So it's the blue hue, but it's toned. Okay. So when you talk about color, especially for knitting, you need to pay attention to both the hue and the tone. So I'm going to take out these two, the shade and the tint, and I'm just not going to talk about those so much. I'm just going to use the words hue and tone. Hue is the color, tone is the amount of black or white that you see in the yarn itself. When you work with yarns in knitting, it is important to pay attention to the hue. Absolutely. That's where we get all the pretty colors. We get our blue yarns and we get our green yarns and we get our purple yarns and we get our red yarns. That's what attracts us as knitters. We have all of those colors. This camera is on me. Okay. So we have all of those colors and they are beautiful and that's what we see. But when we do color work or fading, it's almost more important to talk about the tone of the yarn. Now, that sounds weird, but when we talk, you'll often hear people in classes telling you to take a picture of the yarn and turn it black and white to see if there's enough contrast. What that is that's actually the tone that's being brought out there. So it's a blue, but it's toned. So if I bring out two yarns that are the same, that are drastically different colors, but the same tone, where did it go? These two here. So those ones, actually, that's probably not the best example. The orange probably has a little bit more. Let's grab a red instead. There we go. So those two colors, if you turn them into black and white, and unfortunately I can't do that on this camera, they have the same amount of black in them or lack of black. So they are going to show up in a black and white photo almost exactly the same color. Okay. So although they have a high hue difference, they have a low tone difference. And what that's going to do, I'm just going to step away from the camera because my samples managed to wander all the way over here. So there we go. I'm going to bring me back to this camera. There we go. So when you have a low tone and high hue contrast, you end up doing a fade. So these two yarns here, this purple and this blue, have the same tone. Yeah, just like a real show, samples running. So this one and this one are different hues, but the same tone. That makes them fade, right? When we have this color down here, these two colors, we have a lovely pink and a lovely gray. They're different hues, but they're very similar in tone. And so your brain reads those as a blurred image. Now there's other things going on in here. I will talk about this in a few minutes. This is also faded. So there's colors, the same hue pulled across the two, 3, 4, 5, however many you do. But the fact that they are the same tone, and you'll see in the middle here that these two are slightly, like they're opposite ends of the color spectrum, but they are fading together pretty well. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are the same tone. They have the same amount of black in them. One is not super bright and one is not super dark. So you can have a high contrast in hue, but have it be the same tone. Or if you were just to talk about a black and white yarn, there are technically no colors in there. There is no change in hue. They are just different tones. And the same with the sweater that I'm wearing. So this sweater, I have not changed the color. You see it mostly on my sleeves, I guess, but I have changed the tone. Okay, so I've just added more black, more saturation, more black, whatever, to the yarns to get them to fade this way. So when you're working with color work and you want to do something like the yoke of my sweater, these are the same hue, but they are different tones. And that's why you can see the differences. Now this also has some feathering and heathering going on, so it's a little bit less crisp than it could be, but you can see the difference. And that's almost more important than the colors. It's not more important. Color is important. Don't get me wrong. I'm an indie yarn dyer. I specialize in rainbows of all things. I am the last person to say that color is not important. But when you are talking about yarns and you are working with color, the tone becomes very important. And the hue is important, but you can have two colors, two hues that are very differently colored, and you think that they're going to just, you know, pop, and they don't. They don't. And so when you do your swatches for your sweaters or whatever, you end up with that muddy fade and you're not seeing your stitches clearly. It's probably because you don't have enough of difference in tone. So how to combat that is to always make sure that you have different, same color, but different tones. So, and they don't have to be, but if I was to use this orange, instead of pairing it with this bright blue, which looks lovely, but wouldn't give me crisp color work, I would probably pair it with either the darker or the lighter, right? Because, and you can fake this. I don't have the ability to turn things black and white. That's normally what I suggest to do. But if you squint through your eyelashes, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And you can do that with your own yarn, or just grab your phone and take a picture. There's tons of filters out there that will help you do that. So that is how you get crisp color work, right? Is you make sure that they are different. And then before I go to talk a little bit more about, oh, the one more thing I want to talk about with color work is things that are in the same tone, but on opposite ends of the color spectrum, not opposite, your contrast colors. So blue and orange, people like to put these two together. The other one that you see a lot of is purple and green. If they are the same tone, they will do something called vibrate. And that's when you look at color. And that's why when sometimes you see red text on a green background or green text on a red background, you see that a lot around Christmas, and you just can't read it. And it almost hurts to look at. And it's like the text, the colors are almost, they're playing off each other in a way that makes it almost vibrate. That's because you're looking at two hues that are the same tone, and that's what they're doing. So these two here, they look nice, but if you were to do a pattern like this, you would lose the pattern and it would be hard to look at. Now that might be the effect you're going for, and especially something like this works in really wide stripes. So if you want to do, you know, like sports teams use these kind of combinations a lot. They use their greens and purples, they use their blues and golds and that kind of stuff. In big stripes, they work well. And so it's nice and bold. But at that transition zone, so anytime you try and do color or anything, you will get that, I'm not sure what I'm looking at, and I'm not sure my eyes like it. So is there any questions about that kind of stuff? Please type in chat, speak up, all those kind of stuff. Got any questions about that? I'm going to go into how to make a fade work in a second, but I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing sort of that I didn't cover on that. So helpful, thank you. Okay, nobody's really piping up there. So I am going to, how are we doing for time here? Okay. I'm going to ask another question because somebody got the last one super fast and exact, which was kind of amazing considering how many are back there. I don't know, maybe you should try and play the lottery or something. All of my yarns have my yarn bases. So the ones that, like, you know, this is actually a cashmere merino. This is super, super soft. That's my Amarok base. This one here is my base that I use for socks. It's called Slipknot. I say it is a rock solid, you know, if you want something that you can throw in the washing machine, this is your baby. This is what I make my socks out of. I really have given up on other yarns. I know that sounds weird, but really it is such a good sock base that I don't make my socks out of anything else. If I want to make a shawl, I'm going to go to the cashmere. This one's a cashmere merino. Or if you're talking luxury, I'm going to go into the yak and silk. So this one's called Naga. So with those three names, what is the common theme between all of my bases?
Right off the bat.
Somebody got it.
Actually got it right off the bat.
That was so fast. I think you hit enter as soon as I asked the question, but keep answering. So dragons is a really good answer because a lot of my bases were based off of dragons at the beginning, and then I got too many and I couldn't name them after dragons anymore. Norway is also a good guess because a lot of them are from Norse mythology. So Fenrir comes from Norse mythology. Sleipnir is Odin's horse. We've got troll hat and gnome hat, which are in those kind of things. Yeah, there's lots from there as well. But anyone who types their name in, remember we're grabbing names to put into the draw at the end for the skein of this guy, this Sleipnir guy right here. And this is my sock base. This is the Sleipnir base. It contains nylon. So yes, not most of my bases, a lot of my bases contain nylon. I'm not sure which one you're asking about. My Slipknot is an 80% merino, 20% nylon. That's part of why it's so good for socks. The other thing that it does well, and it's called Slipknot because, and this is mythology based, that is Odin's 8-legged horse. Now, why would I name a yarn after an 8-legged horse? So it's a horse, so it's got a lot of feet. That's one thing. But the other thing, and I'm going to actually switch to my other camera here. Hold on one second. It has, I'm going to pull the ties of this apart actually. So the reason that this is such a good durable base is, for those of you who spin, you're gonna see this as soon as I pull this apart. There are 4 plies here. There we go. So there's 4 different plies there. So it's 4 ply, but each one of those plies is also a 2 ply. So there's 2 plies in each one of those 4 plies. So it's a 2-step process. And I can't get this ply apart because it's wound so well. So anyways, there's 2 plies in each one of those 4 plies. So they twist together. They twist together the first ones, and then they ply all of those together as well. And so what that does is it just locks in the durability. Like the more twist you put in yarn, the more durable the yarn, right? So that's why you see a lot of the yarns out of Europe, they come and they feel almost hard. And that's because they've spun it super, super tight. The more twist you put into a yarn, the more durable a yarn is. So the more twist that we can put in this yarn, the better. But instead of just twisting those single plies together really tightly, which gives you a hard yarn, it's very durable, but it's also not the softest. And it doesn't have a lot of what I call the smoosh factor. It doesn't, like this is very thick and it smooshes, right? So when you spin it like that, it loses that loft, that air trapped inside. But by doing the 2-step process, you can introduce a lot of the twists that you need for the durability without sacrificing the smoosh. Because when you see me in my booth, I hand you yarn and ask you to smoosh it. Unfortunately, I cannot do that today. So I will have to smoosh for you on camera. So, are we supposed to be putting our names in? Or I thought we were answering the question. Yes. So you can put your name in, or you can answer the question. Whatever, anything you type, basically, Susanna's going to be grabbing the names. Or sorry, Val's going to be grabbing the names.
Yes. Anything put in, I'm just writing the names down. So
yeah, and stay on to the end because we need to connect to you at the end. So the pink and orange, yes. So this one also has nylon in it. It is a cashmere merino nylon, mostly merino, and some cashmere and some nylon. So this one is actually, you can use it for socks, but I love this one for shawls and for garments. And I have this blend, so a merino, nylon, cashmere. I have it both in a fingering as well as in a, where did it go? DK weight. So I love this particular one here. This is the Fenwear. It is 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. This is one of my favorite yarns for sweaters because super, super soft, super smooshy, but has that nylon, so you don't end up with a lot of the, like, for me, I wear my sweaters, I wear them hard, I end up with pilling, and I end up with pilling. So this one has cashmere in it, but it also has that nylon for durability, so you don't get as much of that, because cashmere is notorious for pilling. It's not bad. So those are the two questions. And now I have yarn all over my thing. I can't see my notes. So I am going to go into fading a little bit, and what makes a fade work. I'm actually going to put these back on the shelf for a second because they're all over my table. So why do some fades work and some fades don't? And the biggest reason that I can say that a fade works is, this is the reason I went to what I said before, is the tones are the same. Things fade together when tones are equal, no matter what the hue is. So you can do, and I say there's two different ways to do a fade. There's a hue fade and there's a tone fade. My sweater is done as a tone fade. We've taken the same color and we've changed the tone. And the way that I changed the tone on this one was actually done, there's technically 7 different colors of yarn all the way up my sleeve. It's up my body too, but I'm too short for you to see that. So I have to stretch really tall. And you can do both at the same time. Absolutely, you can do both at the same time. When you do a fade that is tone based, what you want to do is you want to use a yarn that has some sort of modeling in it. If you just do it with solid colors, you are not going to get the optical illusion of a fade. You're going to end up with subtle striping. Not bad, but might not be what you're looking for. So when you change your colors, so when I say you want the same colors, I am going to pull. Where did those go? There they are. Okay, so we're going to switch over to this one here for a second because I'm going to talk about colors. So this is one of the fades that I have dyed, and that just barely fits on the screen. That's okay. So it's me. So of course it's a rainbow. And what I've done, there's no me here, this is me, is I have taken red all the way through to purple. Now this is a hue fade. I have kept the same tone, but I have changed the hue. Okay, so my sweater is a tone fade. This is a hue fade, and you can do both, and I'll show you an example of that in a second. But this particular example here, this red is in this skein. Now this skein, as soon as I turn it over, you can see has both purple and yellow. This one is yellow. It has ever so slightly bits of that red in it, but it's also pulling the green. The green pulls from obviously the green skein, but also the turquoise. Turquoise and darker blue. Darker blue and purple. And then this one is almost all purple, and just it does have a little bit of blue in there as well. So that fades across the tones, and you see what's happening there. They're not solid. They are modeled. You'll see a lot of fades that use speckles, and that is another way to break up, because what you're trying to do when you're fading is you're trying to break up your horizontal lines. And so when you use things like my sweater, right, has those heathered, those speckled, those different breakups of color, and hand dyed is really good for that. And that's why you see a lot of the fades using hand dyed. They break up the eye, and they pull your eye up and down, and some parts are lighter and some parts are darker. And so you get that nice transition. And then like on the sweater, so I'm going to bring this back here. So like on the sweater here, your eye is not hiccuped by any of those. Now, I didn't match the colors as well as I could have in these two yarns. So this blue and this pink, there was not enough pink in the blue, and there was not enough blue in the pink. And so right in the middle there, you can see my fade transition. You can see the lines, right? But down here, there's no way because there is enough pink in the gray and gray in the pink. Up here, like the blue to the purple, those are two different balls of yarn, I swear. But you can't see where I've done that fade transition. And I do a fade of 2 rows. This one is 1 row, 2 rows, 2 rows, 4 rows, 2 rows, 2 rows, 4 rows, 1 row. So it's not just a 2, 2, 2, 2, which you can, but because I was worried about this, I did it as the longer one. You can still see it. That's not bad, might be what you're looking for, but is not as visually pleasing as I find this. Just doesn't fade as well. So when you're doing both at the same time, when you're fading the hue and the tone, this is a shawl I did a couple years ago when they did the Canada's 150. So this is not my yarn, but is one of the best examples I have of that. You can change the tone and the hue at the same time. This transition here goes from a light yarn to a darker yarn. But the most important thing on those two is that the colors were in both skeins. So that dark brown color was in both skeins, and that's why it fades across those two. So you can do both, but you have to make sure that you pull one of the colors across the transition if you're changing the tone at the same time. And that's how this works too. I'm changing the tone, but I'm making sure some of this lighter color is in the second skein and some of this darker color is in this one. So you're same as the hues, you pull them across. Now you have to do that with both of these. So this here, again, we went from a medium tone skein here to a darker tone skein at the end, but because, and it was the hue of that lighter blue color, this color here is in this top one, it does fade as well. So I know I'm showing other people's yarn at my own trunk show, but this is beautiful yarn. This is Fleece Artist. She's also Canadian. Support her too. So that's how you get a fade, is you make sure to keep something transitionally the same. Now you can do it with hue, you can do it with color, or you can do it with both. And one of the things to look for is when you change your color, when you change your pictures of your yarn into black and white, make sure something flows. Or make sure that your colors flow when you look at it, a color photo. So when we look at this rainbow down here again, right, you can see, like visually see that if I twist these two skeins together, I'll grab two that are actually a little bit farther apart. When we twist them together, they almost blend, right? We can definitely see the colors in both of them. Okay, so, oh, put that in the wrong order. There we go. So that's how to fade. And this is a mini skein set that I did a couple of years ago. These are available upon request, and I can do them in however many yardage you look at or you're looking for, and I can fade them across the colors. They also come with a skein of all the colors. And so the reason that I do that, I'll do the gradient plus the extra, is because that extra works really well for like cuffs and places where you need that extra yardage, but you don't need it in a specific color. So, or if you need to, let's say you're doing a top-down sweater and then you go, oh crap, I was supposed to reserve some of that top color to do my pickup on my neckline. Well, we've got this, which will go with everything. Doesn't have to be there, but something that I like to include with them. And just shoot me an email. I do lots of custom work. I do lots of custom color work for people. And the way that I handle that is, especially if you're dyeing for a specific reason, you can shoot me an email, say, I would like a light blue dyed off of this color. Now you can either give me a Pantone color or a paint chip from Home Depot, and I will dye that exact color if you're looking for a solid. But if you give me something like, I would like, and I had a lady the other day, I would like a bass fish colored yarn. Now, I had no idea what a bass fish looked like. So we went and we decided on a picture that was really pretty. And the way that I handled those requests is there's no charge for the custom dyeing, but there's no second chances either. So what happens is I dye the yarn to my artistic interpretation of the picture that you were looking at. And I have a conversation with you about that, right? So, I mean, if you hate yellow, I will not put yellow in that skein. If you say this is for a man, he only likes dark colors, it's going to end up as a dark skein. But I will dye the yarn and I will send you a picture of the finished yarn. You, at that point, can say yes or no to the yarn. So if you say yes, great, you send me an e-transfer and off it goes. If you say no, there's no hard feelings. It goes into my shop. Most of what's on my shop is one of a kinds. So there's no bad yarn out there. It'll be somebody's yarn. I don't like yellow, but I have a whole bunch of yellows because they are for some people. And so it'll go in there, and there's no hard feelings that way either. And I've just had an inspiration to dye an oak. So, but I will not re-dye it as well. So it's a yes or no on that. And that's how I handle customs. And I'm totally open to that. Or if you want to collab for a project, I've got a couple of designers that I'm working with right now. Those patterns, I've got one coming out in July. Watch Instagram for that one. And there's another one coming out in September, I believe. So I've worked with the designers to try and come up with a yarn that works with the pattern that they're doing. One of them's UFO themed, and it's really cool. And that's fading. I guess I got off on a tangent there. Does anybody have any questions about that? Or, you know, any advice or anything like that? No, doesn't look like anybody's. Okay. I am, how are we doing for time? Time. Okay. So we did how many skeins? We did how many names, what my names are based on. Okay, here's a two-parter. So there's two correct answers to this one. Get your typing fingers out. What is my best-selling base and what is my best-selling colorway?
We've got a winner on the base right away.
We got a color on the base.
Trisha.
Yeah, 80-20. Slipknot is an 80-20 base. Yeah. Yeah. And the colorway though, what is my most popular colorway? Because there's two up for grabs right now. Of all the ones I do, yes, Slipknot is my most popular base. The rainbow one, that's a good guess, but I'm gonna need you to know.
It's got to be more specific with her.
Dirty Hippie is my second most popular. You are very close with Dirty Hippie. Galaxy is not, no, I love Galaxy, but Galaxy doesn't sell as well. Roy's in the Clouds. There we go.
Yeah, Christine with that one. So our winners for this round are Christine and Trisha.
Congrats, guys. So you'll both get 25% off coupons. Unicorn Farts is up there. That is close. And Aurora Borealis is quickly overtaking Roy's, but it has not been released for as long. So all-time sales are still to Roy. He is the winner right now. But Aurora will be up there. So for those of you who don't know what Aurora Borealis is, because it is a newer color, this is my Aurora Borealis. I'm going to switch over to this one. Stunk. So this is Aurora Borealis, and this is something called reverse speckling. So I have dyed, which way do I go? This way. So I've dyed the whole skein in a dark color, but I have put a band up here. And I just take a cotton tie and I yoink it really tight around the whole thing and I dunk it in the black. And then once it comes out of the black, I take that section that was resisted, is what it's called. And so it's white on the yarn. And I put a little mini rainbow. And there is all the colors of the rainbow. They're just hiding under here. So there's the red and the orange and the blue and everything. And so that, what that knits up with is just like one little pop of color. And it's really cool because it ends up being about one stitch. The other lovely thing about Aurora Borealis, and actually some of the other yarns, Roy does the same thing, and I will show you this as well, is, let's see if I can do this here. I'm not in my new, is it glows under black light. So those little pops there, they show up under black light. And so that's Aurora. So it's just black, and then you hit it with the black light and it shows up. Now I'm a child of, you know, I have never outgrown my college dorm aesthetics. And I adore anything that goes under black light. This is Rising Clouds. It also has some of that black light yarn, black light color. Ooh. And this is a really cool effect when you get into speckles. And where did that colorway go? This one? So there we go. So when things are speckled with those, now it's special dye that I use, and when they're speckled with it, they end up being all glowy, which I thought was really cool. And so I do a lot of work with that. Yeah, this color that I just showed you, by the way, is called Nerds. It's an orange. It's got lots of little speckles. So a lot of my colorways are, you know, combinations of techniques. This one tends to just, this is just speckles. This is something called space dyeing. This is the scheme you can win, by the way. Is there a discount? Okay, so that is a great question. Because I launched a brand new website this week, I had the ability, and because of course, Easter was just past, there is on my website little eggs. They're little tiny dragon eggs. And they show up, yes, Freya, dragonstrings.ca. They show up randomly. It's about 1 in 3. So just keep refreshing the page if you don't see one. And if you find an egg, they're little purple things, click on it, and that will give you a discount code. And that is 15% off for this weekend. And you can use it on anything on the site. So if you go to the site and you find an egg, click on it, put that code in at the end, and you'll get 15% off. Love the nerd colorway. Yes, I love the nerd colorway too. It's very pretty. That is, again, both my 90s. What a cool way. I liked it. And the fact that I have a site and a husband that does sites is very, very handy. But yeah, so they're just little eggs and they're super cute. And they may pop up later. So I think most of my discounts going forward are probably going to be that. So there may be hidden Easter eggs just randomly. So if you go to Dragon Strings, definitely poke around a little bit and see if anything pops up. They're pretty obvious when they pop up. You might have to look for them a little bit, but I think we've got it set so that they're there. You'll notice them if they're there. Yeah, so that was the question. That's that. And blacklight. Okay, so this will, big announcement time. I am part of a collective. There is a group in Ontario, but it is now Canada-wide, who is doing a, if you want to be a unicorn, be a freaking unicorn. So the idea is that there is a group of makers who have come together to create yarns in support of LGBTQ. Anyways,
LGBTQ plus.
There we go. I get that mixed up every time. I'm so sorry. There we go. Write it out. I can write it out, no problem. Anyways, in support, and each maker gets to pick their own charity. that they are donating either $5 a skein or 20% of small goods. And we have all come up with our own colorway. And the theme is unicorns. You can come up with anything like a unicorn. So you'll see these popping up on Instagram. The makers have till April 19th to get their ideas into the website, not their ideas, their finished submissions into the website. It goes live on May 1st. So from May 1st to 24th, there will be a series of limited edition colorways from me, from makers in Ontario, from makers in the States. There's all sorts of unicorns that are going to pop up all over social media. And the money goes back into the charities in the communities of the makers. Mine is the Gilbert Center in Barrie. They do a lot of work with the community, and they do a lot of work with age education and support of families and trends and all of that. So that's where mine's going. And you guys get to see, before anybody else, the colorway that I have created. And so what I am doing, I'm going to switch over here. I have come up with 2 colorways, and they can be bought separately or together. And they are, when you buy them together, they are 50-gram skeins. This is on the Slipknot base, but other bases will be available. They are a bright and a darker. So they are the same color. This one has just been overtoned in black. So they go really well together. And this is if you want to be a unicorn, be a freaking unicorn colors. And I do have little tiny samples of how they knit up. And so this is the dark and this is the light. The names have not been finalized, but it's Be a Freaking Unicorn. It might just be a Freaking Unicorn Light and Be a Freaking Unicorn Dark. I may come up with something more creative than that. We will see how I feel before the 19th. But so those are the 2 colorways. They glow under black light. Of course they do, because I am me. So you see how the light one glows for sure. The dark one does have, because it is the same colors underneath, it does show, but it's just a lot more subtle. So it's a subtle unicorn. He's not so flashy. He's not so out there. And because I was talking about color work today, I did a little sample. And so these are the 2 colors. This is Lattes and Llamas. This is their Raven Queen pattern. And this is just a fingerless mitten that I've done. You can see the little raven there. And then that is I don't know how to do camera work. That is the back. And so I will show you again, because, that is. So I guess there is another way to do fades and color work. You can use blacklight, but yeah, it will be available on other bases. This is my Slipknot base, and my WYSIWYG site, What You See Is What You Get, will have a limited amount of stock, but I will open it up to my Make Me Die section of my site as well. So those colors will be on there, and they will be available for everybody to purchase on whatever base you want, in whatever quantities you want. So the WYSIWYG is everything you see back here. What you see is what you get. Those are pictures of actually the yarn that you will receive. The other section of the website, the Make Me Die, is the section where I go into the dye pots and I take the base, the stock base that you request, and the color you request, and I make the yarn for you in that moment. And so we can get, large quantities, we can get bases that match, we can get, your favorite color on your favorite base in the 15 skeins that you are looking for. So that's how we order those. Not all of my colors are available on there. There's a limited palette that I do as Make Me Dyes. But if you see something, shoot me an email. The pattern is, love this pattern. Okay, so the pattern that I was showing there is Raven Queen by Lattes and Llamas. It's available on Ravelry. And that yarn would absolutely work for hats. It's a good one for hats, especially for people who get their hats messy and need to go into the washer and dryer. It's a wool, so it's nice and warm, it's nice and durable. This is also, the Slipknot base is the one that I give away the most, because it's not going to matter whether they mix it up with their laundry. You know, if you have somebody that you're not sure how, you know, hand wash only they are, this is the one I recommend, is the Slipknot base. Okay, so we got 10 minutes left, and I saw Val sent me the list of all the people. So I am just going to copy this over, and we are going to do a there we go. Does anybody have any other questions while I get this sorted? Because we're going to do a grand draw here, but I need to get a little bit organized. So, any questions? Any thoughts? Anybody? I hope everybody is out there enjoying the weather today, because I hope it's also nice where you are. I know it's not so nice in Alberta, but here it was 26 above on my deck, and I was out there most of the day. So, okay, we've got everybody into the spinner. So we are going to, this is for, so I will show you one more time. This is for the skein of yarn. This is a Slipknot skein, and oh, set an alarm. Unicorns are coming May 1st, absolutely. Will the 2 skeins of the new unicorn yarn be enough to the Raven Queen pattern? Yes. That is why I'm testing it, but it is, so they're 50 grams each. There's 100 grams total. So you should have enough for a full pair of socks, a pair of mitts, a hat, whatever. They will also be available in 100 gram skeins. So if you are worried about running short, you can just buy one of each, and then you won't run short that way. Okay, I have everybody here. So we are going to do this. So that is everybody's name that has answered in the chat. And we are going to click to spin, and we are going to, for this yarn, and it is Kristen. Congratulations, we have a winner. So send me or Val your email, and I'll have a conversation with you and get your shipping address, and we can get this off to you, because yay, free yarn. Congratulations. Who doesn't love free yarn? Can you pre-order unicorn? You cannot pre-order unicorn. I don't have that ability set up. However, if you shoot me an email, I'll make sure to have what you're looking for on the site the day that it launches. And I will open it up to make me dyes, so that if for some reason it sells out right away, that's a great problem, but I will be dyeing it constantly, basically that whole time. We'll do several runs of the unicorn yarn. So congratulations, Kristen. I will go over the site again. My site is dragonstrings.ca. There are 2 parts to it. There is the what you see is what you get. That's all the yarn that you've seen on the show here today, and all of the colors and everything like that. You will get the exact yarn that you see on that picture. The other part of it is Make Me Dye. That is where you can get the color and the base in the quantity that you are looking for. And you send me into the studio and I will create for you specifically. There is a Be a Freaking Unicorn Instagram. Yes, please follow them. That one will feature all the makers who are part of the initiative. There is also a website set up so that you can see. That will go live. The makers' pictures will all go live on the site May 1st. So you'll be able to see everybody's beautiful creations, and, you know, support me, support them, support everybody. Dragonstrings.ca. There are eggs on the site with a 15% discount code. Click around till you find one. And I want to thank everybody for coming. And this seems to have recorded properly. And it will hopefully be up on YouTube in the next week or so. So just if you're really looking and what was that color and all that stuff. So it should be there. My email, yarny@dragonstrings.ca. Please, I'm open to all of that. It's best to email me rather than sending me messages on Facebook or Instagram. As much of a techie as I am, I don't tend to know what's happening, especially on Facebook. So it may be a little while. I will get back to you, but it might be a couple days because I will not have noticed that there's a message. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. And thank you. Thank you so much for coming, and go visit all the other makers. Click on the unicorns, click on the dragon eggs. Thank you. And I super, super wish that this could be in person, but everybody stay safe, and we'll get there. We'll get there. I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys. Have fun. Send me an email to Kristen, please, so I can get your email address. See ya.